luckily his wounds weren't that bad. He gets healed up in a few weeks and goes right back into it. And here they're going out on patrol. And I mean, think about that. He got blown up. He's there for 48 hours. He gets blown up. He gets sent to the hospital for 3 weeks. Heals up. I mean, you might as well have died when you step on an IED. Just matters on how big it was. And this one obviously wasn't big enough to kill him, but if it would have been a little bit bigger, he'd be dead. Or if the shrapnel went in the wrong spot, he'd be dead. Or if he's standing a little bit closer to it, he'd be dead. Or if whatever. If they didn't get him out in time, he'd be dead. If it hit a vein, he'd be dead. If it hit an artery, he'd be dead. So he knows that. Mm-hmm. And guess what? Doesn't matter. Giddy up. Go back out there. You're back in the game. And here we go. They're going out on patrol. I placed myself fourth in the order of march as we slid out the wire. The first 50 yards were tolerable, but as we left the relative security of the perimeter further and further behind, I began to dread that each footstep would land me on another booby trap. I tried not to think about my wounds and the mayhem and gore I had seen during the past few weeks, but the more I tried to forget, the more clearly I remembered. If I was going to die, and I began to grieve for myself, for my wife, for the little boy who would never really know his father, sweat poured from my forehead, my back, my every joint. My stomach was as tight as a knot. Each step felt as if it might paralyze me. I tried hard to feel my legs so I would remember them long after they were blown off. I was torturing myself. Then I realized that the other men must be afraid too. Yet they kept moving. I was their leader. I had been trained for my job in the best installations in the U.S. Army had to offer: West Point, Airborne School, Ranger School, Jungle Warfare School. How could I be deficient after such an investment, while my men, wrenched from unmilitary backgrounds into the Army and quickly processed in impersonal training facilities, continued to do their duty? Somehow, I kept moving. I could not allow myself to appear cowardly in the eyes of those men. Besides, there was no place else to go. That IED booby trap threat is just horrifying. And, you know, it's scary enough for just being over there when you see the destruction that it causes, but getting blown up and actually personally stepping on an IED, and then you're back in the field 3 weeks later, in the same area, patrolling the same ground, that's courage. Now, as they're moving into position on an ambush site, he's getting some stuff from his gear. And here we go back to the book. As I struggled through the undergrowth, the lace caught on a branch and pulled the compass loose from its berth, causing it to fall on the ground where it struck a rock. The metallic case made a loud ping as it bounced. Without hesitation, I yelled, "Booby trap!" Lurched to the right, threw myself to the ground, covered my head with my arms, and tried to pull my legs up to my butt and brace for the explosion that was about to rip me apart. And all the other guys are doing the same thing, diving for cover. So if you didn't catch that, he was just moving through the brush and something caught on his compass and pulled it out of its pocket, and it fell to the ground, and he heard that metallic noise, and he yelled out. I mean, here they're on patrol. They're setting up an ambush, so they're supposed to be quiet and tactical and silent, and all of a sudden he's yelling out, "Booby trap," and diving to the ground and makes everyone take cover. Mm-hmm. So they come back from that, and he says, I took the time to debrief the platoon upon re-entry to the perimeter, pointing out the strong points and the weak points of the night's actions. I did not spare myself in the critique. I simply stated what had happened. I had made a mistake, but an honest one. There were a few subdued comments by the patrol members, all of whom clearly recognized the danger of my action. It didn't matter. I had overcome my fear. I was once again in control of my platoon and, more importantly, myself. So when you make a mistake, own it. That's what you got to do. When you make a mistake, own it.